Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you, and that is for Litany of Dreams by Marmell. This is an Arkham horror standalone novel. I have read a couple of Arkham horror novels in the past. I'm a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft, obviously, and also just generally like the Cthulhu mythos, Lovecraftian horror type stuff. And so I've been looking into the Arkham horror novels for a while because they are all kind of based on that kind of thing. And well, more so based on the game of Arkham Horror, but that game itself is based on the Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraft's work and those kinds of things. And so I've been interested in reading more of these books in order to kind of get more of that kind of story. And this is the third one that I've read, and I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite of the three Arkham Horror books that I've read, but it's probably my second favorite one. I also read Mask of Silver, which I thought was pretty good, and I also read The Last Ritual, which I really loved. And I would say this one kind of gets sandwiched right between the two of those. So pretty good book, I think. So as far as things that I liked about this book, I think the strongest element of this book is easily the plot. The story that this is telling was consistently really interesting to me, really well done. Basically, the setup for this is that it is a mystery story taking place within the Cthulhu mythos setting. So you have this student from Miskatonic University, which is a big part of the Cthulhu mythos, and a student goes missing, and his friend goes to try to track him down, figure out what happened to him, and all of this stuff. And this kind of leads into a lot of other factors becoming involved. He ends up with a couple of other people who are trying to kind of solve this mystery for their own reasons. Starts involving like these ancient artifacts, starts involving the titular litany, which is this chant that kind of, as you get more exposed to it, kind of gets in your head and starts to kind of manipulate you and things like that, and all kinds of things like that. And as the story goes along, kind of gets grander in scale, going from this one person going missing to something that it feels appropriately large scale for the ending of a Lovecraftian story. So I really liked the plot of this book. The setup itself was interesting. Like, I thought it was like, because I looked at the synopsis of this book and I was like, oh, like a Lovecraftian mystery. That sounds really cool. So I really liked the setup for the book, both in terms of like the general, like it being a mystery and also what the actual mystery entails. But I also really liked the plot in general, because it was always these new pieces being put into place, and seeing the way things came together over the course of the book, I think was really well done. Lots of cool bits, like little bits of foreshadowing that I kind of didn't notice initially, but as the book went on, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense why that was happening earlier, things like that. Generally, just a very well put together mystery, I think. And a well put together kind of escalation of events. Like I said, it kind of starts a little smaller scale, and then things progressively get larger and more, by the end of this book, it truly is like this Lovecraftian cosmic horror type of thing. Much like the other two Arkham horror books that I've read, like the ending just kind of really, really goes there, and it's done very well. And it's not done in a way where it feels like it's shoved in there because it's an Arkham horror book and you need to have some big Lovecraftian thing happen. It really feels like the ending has a good build up to it, and it kind of builds very well across the course of the story as more pieces come into place, as more things kind of, more elements of the plot kind of start to intersect in interesting ways. So generally, I think the story that this book is telling is very, very well constructed, very well done. I really enjoyed it. I also really liked the atmosphere of this book and the writing style, which to me kind of go hand in hand, because the writing style really kind of emphasizes the atmosphere of this book, the way things are described, just the writing itself. The prose is very kind of atmospheric in some ways. The dialogue between characters, the places that they go to, all this kind of stuff, very well done, very atmospheric, really kind of puts you in a strong sense of like what's going on, where these people are, what they're going through. Very kind of visual in a way where I was really easily able to imagine some of the things that were going on and how just crazy some of the stuff in this book is. And I wouldn't say it's super heavy on the horror aspect, but it definitely has its moments of like, oh, that's kind of weird and a little, freaky, I guess. But yeah, very well done though. And by, like I said, the ending goes appropriately Lovecraftian cosmic horror, which I think that really, the end of this book, not to get into spoilers or anything specifically, but it does a very good job, I think, of capturing part of the essence of what I think makes the Cthulhu mythos and Lovecraftian horror so interesting, is I guess what I'll say about that. So that aspect of the horror was very well done. I also liked the way, kind of speaking of the Lovecraftian horror, I really liked the way that the actual elements of the Cthulhu mythos were integrated into this book. It kind of does something similar to what The Last Ritual did, where the parts of the Cthulhu mythos that it's drawing from, I assume, are not ones that Lovecraft himself created, because I don't think I'm really familiar with the mythos elements that this book specifically is drawing from. But it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And of course it does pull some from actual Lovecraft, like Miskatonic University and Arkham and all these kinds of things. And just the general feel and vibe of it definitely has that feeling of, like, it doesn't feel like something Lovecraft would have written necessarily, but it definitely has the feeling of a Lovecraftian story. So very well done in terms of that aspect as well, which is kind of what I'm looking for with something like this. I want it to tell a compelling story and all that stuff, but I really want it, especially if it's labeling itself as a Lovecraftian story, I want it to capture that feel, and I think this book definitely does that very well. As far as anything I didn't care for as much in this book, I do think the characters are not the strongest aspect of the book, which makes sense to a degree because, this is a mystery book. So with a mystery, it seems pretty apparent, at least to me, that the plot is going to be the main driving force. And so that was the part of the book that really kept me interested and engaged in it. So the fact that the characters were well done and I enjoyed, but still weren't the most engaging, most, I wasn't super invested in them and their arcs or their story or anything like that. But it kind of makes sense because with a mystery, I feel like the main thing that you're there for is seeing the way the mystery unfolds, getting the answers, getting to see the way things go as the story progresses. So that part of it's well done. It's just the characters, didn't quite work for me. They were well done. I still enjoyed the dialogue and things like that. But the characters, I'm not going to remember really any of the characters from this book, I think, but I will probably remember the story this book was telling. So that was well done, at least. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed this book. It was very enjoyable, a lot of fun to read. Like I said, definitely captured the essence and the atmosphere of what I'm looking for in this kind of story, and kind of approached it from an interesting angle of having the mystery element to it, which was a lot of fun to see. So as far as a rating out of 10 that I would give Litany of Dreams, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It was really enjoyable. I had a good time with it. Definitely would recommend it if you are looking for something that is like Lovecraftian and draws on the Cthulhu mythos and that stuff, but taking it from more of like a mystery angle and kind of trying to go about things more from that perspective, and kind of like investigation and all these kinds of things. So yeah, generally really enjoyed this book. So that's pretty much all I got to say about it. If you have read Litany of Dreams before, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you really liked it, if you didn't, whatever you thought. If you've read any of the other Arkham horror books, like I said, I've read Mask of Silver and The Last Ritual. I keep forgetting the name of The Last Ritual for some reason. But I do have reviews for those on my channel as well if you're interested. If you've read any of the other books in the Arkham horror series, let me know what you think of them. What are some that you would most recommend? Because I am planning to read more of them. So if you have any particular recommendations for the next one that I ought to go for, leave that in the comments as well. So that's pretty much all I got for you. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.